Welcome back to Amazing Bible Prophecies. I am so glad you're here, and it's always amazing to me. People keep coming night after night after night, and it's interesting. So I hope you are enjoying it. If you're doing your handouts, and I graded more handouts, especially for the size of the crowd. I've had bigger meetings where maybe I've had that many handouts, but for per capita, I have more handouts coming in than I've ever had before, and I like it. I mean, now some of them were because people went back and did like 1 through 6 or something, and got all caught up. But I graded a lot of handouts this time. So thank you for that. Keep doing them. If you keep doing your handouts, at the end there will be a diploma. I have to make a decision on that about 2 days before we're actually at the end, what ones I buy and what I print and everything. So just so you know, we'll do that. If you don't have a Bible or you know someone that could use a Bible, we still have several of them left back there. I mean, I can put them in a box and wait till my next series and give them away then, but they don't really do any good, and this is the church that paid for them, so we'd like them to be used in this area. Every night we're going to give away one of these. Well, I think this is the last one of these Bibles, but every night we're going to give away something. It's going to change up tomorrow night. I've got to do a little shopping. So anyway, if you come every night, on the last night, somebody's going to win this timeline, which I think is pretty amazing when you look at it. I got to remember every time I pick that up now that it doesn't have a lid. And you can still invite people. We got some really good topics coming. Tonight's a good topic, especially good if you've been coming every night. And if you've decided that this isn't kindergarten and you may want to brush up on it again, you can get the DVDs or the flash drives. They are available. Just ask our registrars out there and they will take care of you. And if you have questions, what do? Write it down. Had a really good question in the box this time. I'll be answering that right now because I'm done down. Oh, no, it's not. I'm not done down here. We are going to give away a Bible. So we need the highly classified, top secret, magic basket. You don't understand the clearances that these people have to go through to be allowed to carry this basket. We get the FBI. Everybody's checking up on them. If they carry this without it, they can get in a lot of trouble. Barney Gill? Who is it? I don't know who that is. I can't make it out exactly. So Barney, something such. Barry. Oh, it's Barry. Yeah, now that I'm seeing it, it is Barry. Barry, you're the winner. Now that I can see that's Barry. That's obvious. So Barry's handwriting looks a lot like my handwriting. My wife says, I can read your handwriting. That's what she used to say about it because she's a school teacher. And I was so happy to get out of grade school where they try to make you write all these precise ways. And when I got to high school, they said, make it legible. I need to know the difference between capitals and lowercase letters and legible. And that's all they cared about. I'm like, oh, freedom. Freedom at last. So we had a really good question in the box. I like this question. And it actually, I had to do some research on this question. So one of those questions where if I would have just been asked right off the top of my head, I wouldn't have given as full of an answer. So let me get my research up here. Here's what it says. If Jesus himself was baptized in God's created river, all right, why is it that man has now opted to baptize in a man-made baptismal pool? Convenience, conformity, or culture? Okay. Jesus was baptized in the Jordan. We know that. We also know that not everybody, even in the Bible, was likely baptized that way. However, whatever I'm about to say here, if there's somebody here that wants to be baptized in a river, I've done it many times before, and I'll do it again. I have no problem with that. So I've done it when it's freezing cold in the river. I've done it when the water was below 50 degrees. They wanted to be baptized in a river. You want to be baptized in a river? All right, let's go. So, but yeah, you want to talk about cold? That water was freezing cold. That was in late February that I did that, and but we did it. What's that? No, it wasn't the Ohio River. This was down in Greenbrier County. So anyway, so let me. I want to delve into this because when you go into the Bible and you start studying baptisms, which is I had to do, like are there any instances of people in the Bible that weren't baptized in a river? And yes, it looks like probably there were, or we don't know, like the Ethiopian eunuch perhaps was baptized in a pond or something, not a river, not a naturally flowing body of water, but I want to look at Acts chapter 9. If you have your Bibles, let's go to Acts chapter 9. We're going to look at this. I think it's interesting. What I'm saying is interesting, okay? I don't know if you can build a doctrine on this or not, but I got to look at it and I thought, this is interesting. So, Acts chapter 9 and verse 18, you'll catch the story here in a moment. But this is what it says. This is when Ananias had come to see Saul. You remember? He'd been blinded. And so Ananias comes in, and it says, and immediately there fell from his eyes as it had been scales, and he received sight forthwith and arose and was baptized. Well, where was he when the scales fell off his eyes? He was in Damascus, but he was in a house. He was in somebody's house. And if you follow the context here, and I've kind of written the context out here. So it says, in Acts chapter 9, verses 10 through 12, it says, God sends Ananias to Saul in a house in Damascus, specifically in the house of Judas on Straight Street. So we know he was in a house. It was a very specific house that God sent him to. And then in verse 17 it says, Ananias entered into the house and laid his hands on Saul. And then in verses 18 and 19 it says, and he arose and was baptized, and when he had received meat, he was strengthened. And it seems that we can logically conclude from that he never left the house. And that fits what we know about how the Jewish households, especially in and around Damascus, would have been. So first of all, there's a location context here. This is research here. Everything in the narrative happens inside the house. Ananias' visit, the healing of Saul's blindness, and the immediate baptism. There's no mention of leaving the house until later when Saul begins to preach in Damascus. The simplest, most natural reading of the text is that all these events occurred in the same place. And then there's the timing of this. The baptism happens immediately upon Paul's healing, before he even eats. The immediacy of that sequence, and he arose and was baptized, and when he had received meat, suggests no travel or delay. Certainly not enough time to go to a river somewhere, because he was hungry, and he got baptized, and he ate and after the scales fell off of his eyes. There's a cultural setting, and this is what I also found interesting. Many first century houses, especially in cities around Damascus, had courtyards or cisterns with enough water for ritual washings. Jewish custom already included something called mikvayot. It's a ritual immersion bath. So a private or domestic space for washing or immersion would have been something usual in a house during that time. And then there's a parallel account in Acts chapter 22, verse 16, if you want to go read it. But Paul later actually recounts his baptism. And he says, and Ananias says, and now why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized and wash away thy sins. Again, the urgency points to the idea that the baptism was right where they were, not somewhere distant. So, this text doesn't explicitly say that it was indoors. I mean, it's possible that right next to the house there was a stream or something that he was baptized in, but it implies that. Now, if you go back and you study the history of the early church, at the very earliest, I mean, you can go back historically and study this, the churches almost immediately had baptistries there because baptism became a big part. And so what the Bible teaches is baptism by immersion. Wherever there's enough water, much water. You know, the Ethiopian eunuch said, here's much water. What prevents me from being baptized? And I think that's the key. But again, if you don't feel comfortable being baptized in a baptistry, I can swim. I'm a good swimmer. I used to be a lifeguard. I used to be the head lifeguard over at the YMCA here. So anyway, I just thought that was a good question, though, because when I read it, I thought, I never thought about that before, and I had to think about it for probably an hour. I spent thinking about it and kind of trying to understand the context of what was being said. Have I said it before? You don't take a text out of context and make a pretext. So I took a text in context and made a pretext. Does that make sense? Because I inferred from what I was reading that likely what happened was in the house, although I can't prove that. So I took a text in context and make a pretext. But you don't want to ever let somebody take a text out of context and make a pretext. So let's look at some of our upcoming topics. Really good question. Whoever asked, I don't even know who asked it, but good question. Our subject tonight, I like this one, Babylon Rising. Tonight's going to be one of those nights when all of your hard work of coming regularly is going to really pay off, because we're going to crack the lid on Revelation chapter 13. And I know that what you're probably going to learn tonight is going to change the way you look at world history. You'll see what I mean. And then on Friday night, tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about death. Everybody likes to talk about death, right? I don't. The older I get, the more I don't want to talk about it, because the more I start realizing I'm not that really far away from when that happens. It's just not everybody's favorite topic, but the Bible does deal with death extensively, and that's a really good thing, because guess what? You and I are both going to die if Jesus doesn't come first. It's pretty much a guarantee. It's not pretty much a guarantee. That's a guarantee. I had a member one time. I'll say this. I had a member one time up in Pittsburgh, and he told me one time, I thought he was joking. And he says, I'm never going to die. I'm not going to die. He was like 85 years old. He said, God didn't bring me this far to let me die. And I thought he was joking, and so I kind of smiled at him. I said, well, you know, everybody dies. Well, you're not a man of God. He never came back to church after that. He just didn't want to hear that. And he's passed on since then. But anyway, but you'd be amazed at how much the Bible has to say about death and how certain it is. We're born onto this planet with a death sentence, and short of Jesus and his actions, that's the way it would stay, but we have something to be thankful for. So we're going to look at what the Bible says on death. Really good tomorrow night. Good message. Now, to make sure we cover everything, we're going to be having a couple of extra meetings. So on Saturday morning at 11 a.m., we're going to be looking at secrets of answered prayer. This is no gimmick. There really is a key in the Bible that ensures that all your prayers get answered all the time. And I'm sure that many of you would be interested in learning about that. And then on Saturday night, God's strange act. This is possibly one of the most misunderstood subjects in Bible prophecy. What actually happens to people who reject the gift of salvation? What's their ultimate fate? And how can you reconcile a God of love with the idea that not everybody's going to make it to heaven? The topic is hellfire, and I will say I really get passionate about this one, and you don't want to miss it. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If there was only one message, if I came to town and I said, we don't have time for your series, you only get to preach once, this would be the message. Hands down, no questions asked. Because people's understanding of this has done more to corrupt the character of God than any other thing that the Bible talks about. And I care about that a lot. So, and then on Sunday, a desolate planet. Just tonight you were asking me, when are you going to talk about this? The timeline. How do end time events, how do they line up? This is where we're going to be talking about Revelation chapter 20. We're going to be talking about the millennium. How does that fit into the picture? Where does it fit with the second coming and the destruction of the wicked and all those other things? It's really fascinating. Heavy prophecy. A whole night on Revelation chapter 20, the millennium, the 1,000 years, and so you're going to like that one as well. And then on Monday night, we're going to do something a little different. How to postpone your funeral. I'm always on time for things, so I'm assuming I'll probably just be on time for my funeral. But I know people that are late for everything, and they'll probably be late for their funeral too. I'm going to show you something really remarkable from the Bible that some Christians have noticed over the years, and those who adopt the principles we're going to study have been proven statistically to live much longer than the rest of the population, up to 10 years longer, in fact. Something you're not going to want to miss, because these people don't just live longer, they live better, just by going by what the Bible says. And I think you're going to like that one. And then I got some things I want to talk about here, because this church has so much stuff going on, and I don't want you to miss it. Next Tuesday night, when we're supposed to be off, this coming November 15th. No, this is the last night of the meetings. After the meetings end on November 15th, we have a Fall for Jesus. It's just a party. This church does parties, and we're going to do one right down here in the basement, and I think it's going to be pretty packed out, because I was talking today I was talking with the social director of the church. She's trying to get this all together. We're going to have food, we're going to have games, we're going to have all kinds of fun things, and everybody's invited. In fact, we want you to come. You'll probably see a different element of us and how we have a lot of fun together as a church. And then we have a school. A lot of people aren't aware of this, but this church operates a school, and that school is located over on North End. I don't know if you know where the WPAR radio tower used to be, but there's a little school there. I went to school there when I was a kid, so it's been around since, I think, the 50s, and it's still working, and we have like 49 students right now over there. But those students are going to be how many of you watched Hacksaw Ridge, the movie Hacksaw Ridge? Did any of you see that? It's about Desmond Doss, who was a conscientious objector, and I think he taught us that not all conscientious objectors are cowards. And it's a really good story. In fact, you see this black curtain back here? And behind that, back into the baptistry, there's a stage built that's up high, because this happened on a cliff, Hacksaw Ridge. And so with Victor, if you know Victor's been running around, there's a whole stage set back there. That's why everything got moved forward, because they've been getting ready for that. So on Tuesday at 6:30, if you don't want your day off and you want to see a bunch of kids do a play for Veterans Day, Memorial Day, which one is Veterans Day? So It's going to be really good. I haven't seen them practice. Sometimes I watch them practice these plays, and I'm thinking, oh, my goodness, what's going to happen? But it seems to always come together. So I'm looking forward to it. It's fun to watch these kids. They really get into it. And then we've got another thing that we've been doing every year, but this year it's taken on more significance. For the last several years, our school, primarily, has led a food drive for Thanksgiving baskets. So there's families out there that have been presented, and they have needs. And so we give them all the fixings for Thanksgiving dinner. They have a turkey in there, and they have mashed potatoes and all kind of different things, whatever makes up Thanksgiving dinner. And we do the drive by passing out bags around the town. Well, you could become a part of that if you want to, because there are bags right out there in the lobby. And you fill them with canned goods, dry goods, things that are not perishable. And they will take all those things that you bring, and they categorize them all around the gym.